Welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room for another Art of Letting Go live session. So let's jump into our teaching for today. Is a daily quote, some teaching around the Matrix. We're going to watch the Matrix later. And then we'll go into today's lesson, and maybe we've got some time for the text as well. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. Share screen. There we go. So if you can read that headline quote, we've looked at this before from Eckhart Tolle, but this is deserves its own headline position in today's email.
Yeah. What will be left of all the fearing and wanting associated with your problematic life situation that every day takes up most of your attention? A dash 1 or 2 inches long between the date of birth and date of death on your gravestone. To the egoic self, this is a depressing thought. To you, it is liberating.
Yeah, so Eckhart Tolle again, had a few quotes from him. It really puts all the expectations and fears that occupy so many people's minds in their proper perspective, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we desire or fear anything when these movements of the egoic mind and its desires and fears are so impermanent? So ask yourself this question. Why do I desire or fear anything when these movements of the egoic mind and what it desires or fears are so impermanent? Just pause and reflect on it. Why am I desiring and fearing when all of it is impermanent? It comes and it goes. These things don't last. And then you can follow it up with this one. Will anything I'm fearing or anticipating about the future right now matter at all in 100 or even in 10 years? Even 10 years' time, will it matter? No, probably not. In 100 years, it certainly won't matter because we'll be dead and long gone. And so nothing that's current in our lives now will matter at all. You go to a graveyard. It's actually a good spiritual practice. I've done it on occasion.
Yeah.
And you just look at that dash and you just kind of reflect on that for a few moments, a minute or two. And so, yeah, then the entire sum total of that person's life, all of their fears, desires, addictions, egoic attachments, anything they experienced in their life was in that dash, and now it's over. And all it is a dash. And where is it? No one remembers any of that stuff. Unless they wrote a book, most people don't, about their life. It's gone. So how real was any of it? As Eckhart says, to the egoic self, this is a depressing thought. Well, then what's the point of any of it? But to you, your true self, it is liberating because you go, yeah, well, exactly. There is no point to it. Actually, there is only love, peace, and joy. That's always there. And so we need to just, if we can live this way, it's a great chat in one of Steve Jobs' talks. He said, death can actually be your greatest teacher, because if you understand that everything here is impermanent, ultimately everything dies, and so are you going to die. You can come fully into the present moment and go, okay, well, then let me be present. There's no point going into the past or future. Let me enjoy the present moment, because what else is there? Yeah, his decision rule. He said, well, his rule was, if this were going to be my last day alive, would I want to be doing what I'm currently doing, what I'm about to do? It's quite a good question, isn't it? It's another
Mm,
question he asked. If this was my last day on Earth,
yeah,
would I be doing what I
I'm doing right now.
currently doing right now? Or, would I go, well, that's actually what I'm doing is pointless. And he said if the answer was no for too many days in a row, then he went, I need to make a change
Mm,
and
yeah.
change something to get back on track. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing right now, just for the sake of it, there's no future then. If you were going to die today, there's no future. It completely removes any future considerations, doesn't it?
Hmm.
So it brings you fully into the present moment, saying right now, in this moment, would I want to be doing what I'm currently doing? If I knew, this was going to be my last day, 12 o'clock tonight, that's it. Would I still do what I'm doing? It's quite an interesting question again.
Mm.
And if not, then maybe, some change needs to be made. Because it's all about coming into the joy of the present moment and feeling that right now, not for the future's sake, not because I'm building towards anything, because I'm enjoying the process of what I'm doing right now. And if I reflect on that myself, would I want to run an art of letting go session and tonight be watching The Matrix? If it was my last day, yeah, I would. I'd also want to, say my goodbyes to my family, sure.
Mm.
But there's a lot of there's still hours in the day. So yes, because the process itself is enriching and rewarding. There's a meaning and a purpose, and um, there's a sense of fulfillment and even joy in these sessions and in the connection with people. So, asking these questions helps you to self-reflect, to come into an awareness of what you really are beyond the ego. So this kind of questioning is yet another powerful way to let go of your attachments to the people, things, and events of this world and free your mind. So no recorded discussion today. I've had quite a few of those, but I gave you these bonus videos about the Matrix to watch. So there's two. The first is about the hero's journey of awakening to his true identity and power as the one there to awaken himself and humanity, who can transcend the matrix. So it's definitely worth watching. Goes into that. And then the second one is about the social commentary. So the matrix works on different levels. There's the hero's journey of Neo, and then there's also the social commentary going on at the same time about the state of the world, society. Really, what it's saying is that we're living in a controlled matrix, that we're all asleep, that the powers that be that are manipulating and controlling us, and this matrix is an illusion that's designed to enslave us. This was 25 years ago. You look at what's happened subsequently.
Mm.
Advances in artificial intelligence. We just had a COVID-19 pandemic in which all kinds of control mechanisms were put in place, mandatory vaccinations, um, and so on. And so these kinds of matrix-like features have probably got worse since the 1999 when the movie was made. So the commentary is still relevant, possibly even more relevant today than when the movie was released, especially with the rise of AI. Because the movie is all about artificial intelligence and humanity's relationship with it. So yeah, again, fascinating. Some really good points in the in that 25-minute clip, which will prepare you well to watch it this evening. And the idea is to watch it mindfully. So we watch a scene, and then I'll give some commentary. You know, it's about using it as a teaching and learning device.
Yeah.
All right, so
what's left of the opposition in
let's go into today's lesson, shall we? All right, so this one is lesson number 12. You can read that in the original and the headline and the alternative. Elaine?
Yep. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. And I am upset because I perceive a meaningless world.
I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world. That's the only reason why I'm upset. It's the meaninglessness of it that actually upsets me. So another meaning lesson. There's been several of them in the first 12. So if you read the first paragraph, the commentary.
The importance of this idea lies in the fact that it contains a correction for a major perceptual distortion. You think that what upsets you is a frightening world, or a sad world, or a violent world, or an insane world. All these attributes are given it by you. The world is meaningless in itself.
Yeah. So what's he saying in that one?
Well, it's just only us that's caused this, well, frightening, sad world and violent world. All these have been given by us alone. The actual world is meaningless in itself. It's only from our own minds that we perceive these so-called sad world, violent world.
We've miscreated all of it. All these attributes are given it by you. The world is meaningless in itself. It's only the meaning you give it. And the meaning you give it is what upsets you. Well, if you've given it that meaning, then clearly you're upsetting yourself.
Just wondering what these things are.
It just seems that that's not the case. It seems the world has a meaning of its own. That the outside world is responsible for your perceptions and for your upsets. So correction for major perceptual distortion, that the external world somehow has all of this meaning that you've given it to it, but actually it doesn't. It's just your own self-created meaning. Therefore, you're upsetting yourself. That's the logical conclusion. If we can realize that we're just upsetting ourselves, then we can stop doing it. By stop ascribing the meaning that we've given these things. The world is meaningless in itself. So a very short commentary, and then we go straight into the lesson. So shall we do a quick meditation on it?
Yeah.
Quick practice.
Yeah.
All right, so just making yourself comfortable. Just going to close your eyes to start with, and then we'll go into the open-eyed meditation. So close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in through the nose, just to set yourself into the meditation. Notice how your stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. You clench the sphincter muscle and you raise the energy up to the crown of your head. And so just scan your mind briefly and notice any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations, or particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. And just remind yourself that I'm only upset because I perceive a meaningless world. And you blow it out, the breeze of your breath, as in it's like a dark cloud being blown away. Cloud is not real. You blow it away and come to rest in stillness and peace. Connect with this peace, experience it deeply for a few moments. Just breathing in and out through your nose. You observe the breath flowing into your nostrils and out of your nostrils. Feeling the peace that surpasses all understanding. Just going deeper into that peace with each breath. Breath just, you find this empty, open, spacious awareness. It's beyond all thoughts, beyond the mind. Connect with that and you just breathe in and out. There's nowhere else to go, there's nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. And surrender into the stillness, quietness. It's beyond all upset and all drama. Now I'm going to go into an open-eyed meditation. So open your eyes gently. Keep watching the breath, breathing nice, deep, slow breaths in and out through your nose. Just look around you quite slowly. Just try and pace yourself so that the slow shifting of your glance from one thing to another involves a fairly constant time interval, just a few seconds for whatever you look at, and then you move on. Don't make the time much longer or shorter. Just try to keep a measured, even tempo. So what you're teaching yourself is that what you see does not matter. Teach yourself this as you give whatever your glance rests on equal attention and equal time. So there's a purpose for doing the exercises in the specific way that is instructed. This is a beginning step in learning to give them all equal value. So now as you look about you in this in a very slow, casual way, say to yourself, I think I see a fearful world, perhaps a dangerous world, a hostile world, a cruel world, an unfair world, a sad world, a wicked world, a crazy world. I think I perceive all these things, and so on, using whatever descriptive terms happen to occur to you. If terms which seem positive rather than negative occur to you, then include them. For example, you might think of a good world or a satisfying world. If these terms occur to you, use them along with the rest. So you may not yet understand why these quite nice adjectives belong in these exercises, but remember that a good world implies a bad one, and a satisfying world implies an unsatisfying one. All terms which cross your mind are suitable subjects for today's exercises. Their seeming quality does not matter. So that you don't alter the time interval between applying today's idea to what you think is pleasant and what you think is unpleasant. For the purposes of these exercises, there is no difference between them. And take a nice deep breath in to finish the exercise and say, but I'm only ever upset because I perceive a meaningless world. I'm only upset because I perceive a meaningless world. So actually all these descriptions, these attributes you've given the world are meaningless. They don't have any meaning. So why are you reacting to them if they're meaningless? They only have power if you give them meaning. You know, without meaning, they have no power. This is the powerful truth. of these exercises. Yeshua understands that it's the meaning we give things that has given them the power that they seem to have. So just let go of the meaning. It says what is meaningless is neither good nor bad. Why then should a meaningless world upset you? If you could accept the world as meaningless and let the truth be written upon it for you, it would make you indescribably happy. So actually all of my own interpretations of the world are meaningless. It means all the darkness, the pain, the suffering that I've perceived and experienced is meaningless. This would make me indescribably happy because I would go into a state of pure formless awareness. But because it is meaningless, you are impelled to write upon it what you would have it be. So we give it a meaning. We ascribe to it the meaning that we want it to have. And it is this that we perceive in it. It is this that is meaningless in truth. The false self, born out of a false idea of separation, ascribes a false meaning onto an illusory world. It's just a projection of its own deluded mind. How can any of that have any meaning? So beneath your words, beneath your meaning, is written the word of God. Beneath your words is written the message of perfect love. Your formless awareness of perfect love underlies every false meaning that you've ever given the world. The truth upsets you now. When your words have been erased, you will see it. That is the ultimate purpose of these exercises. So when the meaning that we've given to everything has been erased in our minds, we let that go, in other words. You will perceive its meaning. That is the ultimate purpose of these exercises. So have a sense of that deeper meaning now. And close your eyes again, just for a minute to close the meditation. And just rest in this deeper meaning. Meaning beyond the illusion, beyond the dream world. Rest in this quiet, peaceful place. Once you let go of all the meaning that you've given the world, find a sense of peace. So just coming back now from this deep connected state. And carry this peace, the peace that surpasses all understanding, it's been called. Carry it with you. So the rest of the session, the rest of the afternoon, and on into your weekend. Peace is always with you. It's only the meaning that you give to the world that covers it over. So what this lesson is saying. A very simple lesson, very powerful, but it's apt to be overlooked. You'll forget this and give the world false meaning again. When that happens, just remind yourself that I'm only ever upset because I perceive a meaningless world. And you can use this idea, you can use one of the breath break recordings I've given you to practice it. Whenever that happens. So open your eyes if they're closed, look around, practice the lesson one more time. So I think I perceive, describe the world in whatever way comes up for you, whatever adjectives, words come up. Perhaps say better, because you're in a better state. But don't make any distinctions, whether that's apparently good or bad, it's all the same. And finally, finish the exercise by saying, but I am upset because I perceive a meaningless world. I'm only ever upset because I perceive a meaningless world. That realization just sit with you for a few moments. Anchor the state of peace in, breathe in. Set yourself into this peaceful state. State of mind. In which there is the peace that surpasses all understanding, surpasses the meaningless world. And in that state, you find true meaning and purpose. So there is meaning and purpose in the world, but it needs to be correctly perceived. And it becomes the real world. It has meaning and purpose, and it can be happy, fulfilling, not your ultimate home, but you can have a happy dream here. While you play out the dream and prepare yourself to depart the world and go home to the state of pure formless awareness, which is true meaning. That's the true meaning and the purpose of everything, is to attain that state. Once again, experience that state. Be one with your own true awareness. Merge your awareness with the awareness of perfect love. That's the merging of the Father and the Son, or the extension and the source, which is the only true meaning and purpose of this world. Okay, so brings us to the end of meditation. So any thoughts on that, Elaine?
Yeah, it's a very good lesson. I was just looking around and obviously saw so-called good things, and then the news with all the wars and destruction, and I kept very neutral. Just looked, glanced, not staying on one for too long. And it gives you a bit more peace, I suppose. Yeah, you're not sort of all excited about your whatever it is that you like. and the news there, which I don't normally like to watch. I just glanced past it.
Hmm.
So it's a useful lesson.
Don't react to any of it. And you can
Yeah.
see why it's important to see everything as meaningless, because if you give
Yes.
meaning to anything, then the negatives are also meaningful. Let's say you say, oh, well, that's a lovely
Cat
plant
or
or flower or kitten or dog or sunset or
yes.
whatever. You've made the external world real. And then you
Mm.
go, oh, well, I don't like that part, the wars and the violence and so on I see on the news. So no, that part's not real, but this part is real. Well, you can't
Mm.
really pick and choose like that, because
No.
it's either all real or it's all unreal. It's in the same order of reality. Is what he's trying to teach us. The external
Yeah.
world is in the same order of reality, and it's ultimately illusory. So
Yeah. Good lesson. I mean,
very simple,
it's
very profound lesson. I mean, all these lessons are profound. One idea,
oh
this
yeah.
idea, each idea can awaken you. If I realize I'm only ever upset because I see a meaningless world, and I really get that, I'm never going to be upset again. Never, am I? If I really
Mm.
understand that.
The
That's
only
how
thing is,
powerful. Okay, well, then you can live in a state of peace and
oh yes, no,
relative
I can see
happiness
that.
and flow. Hmm.
Yeah. But it's difficult for the ego because if it's something that you like a plant or sunset or what have you, it
Hmm.
still likes to latch on to the good things. Okay, we'll not look at the bad things, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but that's why it's so difficult to escape, because the ego hasn't made it all bad. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if it was all disastrous and terrible all the time, then why would you stay here? It would be very
Well,
obvious
yeah,
that the
yeah.
place is hellish, and you just want to leave.
Mm,
But the so-called good things it gives us, oh, well, you could have, a nice sunset or a nice glass of wine or a special relationship with someone,
mm-hmm,
sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever floats your boat and that you seemingly like and are attached to.
mm-hmm,
Um, Even that, you go, well, what's wrong with nature? I'm going into nature and I'm going for walks and but what it does is it attaches you to this world. Okay, well, if you've made that real, then the world in your perception is real. So then the other things that occur in the world must also be real. So what happens when things die? In nature, it's a very cruel thought system. Oh, nature's so wonderful and beautiful. No, everything's eating everything else all the time. In nature, that's what's going on all the time. Animals are constantly, they're in survival mode. Okay, well, where's my next meal coming from? What
mm.
can I eat to survive? So, never mind about the thing I'm eating. I just need to survive.
Need to
So,
survive. Yeah.
that's actually what's going on all the time. Yeshua's asking us to look at it and go, well, does that mean anything? A thought system like that, a world based on that thought system, can you really say that's beautiful or wonderful or whatever descriptor, or awful or terrible? Saying all of it's meaningless because none of it's real. That's the point. How can it have a meaning if it's not real? But we have to apply that meaninglessness to everything without exception. Otherwise we start making exceptions. Oh, well, I'll give meaning to that, but I'll deny that. You can't do it, can you?
No,
We
no.
might try it. Oh, I'll give meaning only to the good stuff. And then, you think, well, okay, let's go with that and try that. And then, of course, it's not always good, but, other negative stuff happens. And the more
Even the
meaning you've
good
given
stuff.
to the good stuff, the more the negative is going to affect you, because you go, oh, but like I want it all to be good, and my expectation is it should all be good, and it's not good now. And so now I feel like I'm suffering, and I've lost the good stuff that I wanted
Mm,
because I was attached to it, if I was honest. So
yeah,
the
I'm
only
guilty of that
way
one.
out
Yeah.
is this in the Buddhist teaching, they call it equanimity. It's a detached serenity, an equanimous peace of mind that just looks on the world and says none of it actually means anything. I'm not going to react to any of it, whether it's seemingly good or bad. And so I remain in my, peaceful, happy state. Then I'm not on a roller coaster ride. I'm not seeking things in the world to make me feel better. And then, having to go on the roller coaster when they don't, when those things are not there anymore, and inevitably they change and something else comes in that's negative. And then you're on the up and the down. This is like, no, you're just stable base state, which never changes. I'm happy and I'm peaceful as my foundational state, because that's all that's real. Everything else is meaningless. As he says, what is meaningless is neither good nor bad. So this takes you beyond duality. You see, there's no good or bad anymore. It's just all unreal. Meaningless meaning it's unreal. So the Holy Spirit's only judgment is that it is unreal. Therefore, it is meaningless. Therefore, there's no need to think about it, to have emotions about it, because it's just not, it's not even there. It's non-existent.
It's more difficult things like while you're in the body with the five senses, because they're all, they might be screaming at you. So that one's the challenge, isn't it? As opposed to looking out at the external world, it's the body ones that we have to know that pain or uncomfortable feeling is unreal. So that's the challenge, is working with those five senses.
Yeah.
Because it has hunger,
whatever you perceive,
thirsty.
the senses are how you perceive. So that's why I changed it from see to perceive, because it's not just the visual sense. It's everything. It's auditory, it's touch, taste, feeling. Your five senses are how you then perceive a meaningless world. And it's your interpretation of those sense perceptions that gives the world its meaning, isn't it? It's always interpretation. Whatever's coming in, you perceive it with your physical senses, and then you go, now I'll give it a meaning. I'll attach a meaning, give it a story, and so it has a meaning for me. And then it can upset you accordingly once you've done that.
Well, I've just done an aromatherapy with rose oil and neroli, and the lady, she was my friend actually, she really enjoyed that. Now, if I'd put like the cat's pee in the oil, I wonder what she would have felt there if she'd done the course. Because is that the same, cat's pee or the aromatherapy oil?
Well, ultimately, it doesn't matter. But if you used cat's pee instead of aromatherapy, well, of course, on the level of form, she wouldn't have been very impressed at all.
No.
So, because most people are, we're in very much rooted in this world, and it's like, well, it's all got to be nice, and so it's not saying like on the level of form, you're not going to go, okay, well, I'll still try and do what's kind and nice and helpful for people, but I'm just not attached to it. If the cat peed in the aromatherapy oil, then that's obviously the lesson for the day, isn't it?
Yeah. As it happens, there's a cat. I did have a cat that on my cushion, where I do my meditation, and it's it's got all the wheat and everything in it, and it peed on it.
Right.
So I had to take all the stuff out, and I'm hoping to save it because it's not something you can just go and buy cheap. It's got to be ordered from Germany. It's a real nice one, but but again, you're not to get attached to your cushions and all your Well, so that was a lesson.
Yeah, you prefer, your preference is that your cushion doesn't have cat pee on it, obviously. But if the cushion gets peed on, or anything goes wrong on the level of form, if it's all meaningless, it doesn't really matter.
No.
So you can find a sense of transcendent peace.
Yeah, well, I just sort of got on with it. I mean, it's not the cat's fault. The poor thing must have been a bit stressed because it's tough to get adopted. I just got on with it and took the stuff out and hoped, and I've washed it and hoped that I've recovered it. Otherwise, no, I'll just have to leave it. That's it. It's gone.
If there's no mental and emotional reaction, oh well, okay, whatever. I'll just deal with
Yeah,
it. I'll do what I need to do. I'm not upset about it. That's the key. Your
yeah.
upset is a disturbance of your peace of mind. That's the problem.
Mm.
So you
Yeah,
can
I think
handle anything, and you can do whatever as long as you're not getting upset. Okay, so I'm not
yeah.
getting upset. I'll just deal with it. I do what I need to on the level of form, and there's no upset. I just flow forward with it.
Yeah, well, I think I did okay on that task. I didn't get
Yeah,
all, so
yeah.
that task, but obviously this is the case is you've got to do it with all tasks. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some that still get us. You know, we give because
Mm.
we've given meaning to so many things in this world, and so you know all of that meaning now has to be undone in our mind. So when something triggers you, what it's really saying is you've given meaning to this. That's what it's telling you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've
Hmm.
given a meaning to this that is actually not true. So now you suffer accordingly because of the meaning you've given it. But if you can see that actually it's just the meaning you've given it and it's really meaningless, then you don't have to suffer anymore. You can let go of that attachment and your suffering can end.
And as it happens, I may be able to resolve it. I might, I've washed it, so if I'm able to resolve it, well, great. But if not, also great. Just move on. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if there's no, it's not, you haven't given it a meaning and then it can't upset you, then you can just do it on the level of form. You can do what's needed,
Mm.
but without any drama. There's no upset. It's like, okay, well, if I need to order another cushion, then I order another cushion. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
So it's not saying you don't act and you don't operate, but you haven't given the world the meaning that the ego gives it, and so it can't upset you. And so you can operate in a very peaceful, flowing way. The ego is going to say, well, if you don't give it these meanings, you're dead. How are you going to function? Because its meaning it thinks is everything. But you find if you do start to let go of the meaning that you've given everything, that you can live in a much more peaceful, much happier way, state of mind. So it actually works. And you get the guidance to do what you need to on the level of form without any of the emotional drama that goes along with it. So surely that's a better way. But you can only learn that experientially by actually practicing these ideas, putting them into practice and seeing that they work. Then you start to experience the truth that, this actually is a much better thought system. It works better. It's in fact, a complete replacement for my ego's thought system that can guide me in and through life, no matter what the situation is. It can handle anything far better than my previous thought system, which was always getting upset and getting me
Mm.
emotionally up and then I'm actually very ineffective. When you're upset, you're very ineffective. There's no real happiness and peace and joy to you getting upset, which kind of then, well, what's the point? I'm continuously getting upset. Is that meaningful? Like, is it meaningful to live your life in a way where you're continuously being upset by the world? And the more you experience the alternative that this course is proposing, the more you go, no, it's really not a meaningful way to live my life. There's no point in that. So I'm done with, that way of living. I need to accept these ideas and apply these ideas. And there's no other way. Whether you do it through A Course in Miracles or another spiritual path, there's no other way than to ultimately let go of all of the meaning and the attachment you've have to this world, whichever path you take to do it. Okay, so good lesson. Keep practicing and reminding yourself, yeah, I'm just upset. I mean, again, this lesson can be used at any point during the year. I'm only upset because I'm seeing what's meaningless. I'm giving it a meaning it doesn't have. So it's useful to go back to first principles with the workbook and go back to these basic ideas because they, they serve you. I go through the first 7 workbook lessons in my mind every day. It's part of my spiritual practice. Remind myself. Okay.
What's 5? The first 5, what did you say?
No, the first 7.
First 7, yeah, right.
They really contain the essence of the whole teaching. If you can master the first 7, it's all in there. Nothing I see means anything. I'm giving it all the meaning that I'm giving it all the meaning that it has for me. It's just a restatement of this lesson. I've given it the meaning that it has for me. I don't really understand anything. I'm clueless. I misunderstand everything. So I'm willing to question my existing understanding. My thoughts don't mean anything. They're like the things I think I see around here. Okay, so none of it really means anything. It can't really upset me. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm upset because I see what is not there. I'm seeing a meaningless world. And I see only the past. What I'm seeing is just my own interpretation of this illusory reality based on my past, which isn't true. Based on ideas, beliefs, which I think is me, I now react to everything, and I give it the meaning that it has for me. So if I can, bear those in mind, I can free myself. I don't have to believe in any of that. All right. So, any other thoughts, comments, or questions on this lesson? A good one, a very useful one that you can use at any point, not just today, but once you've got these in your sort of arsenal, whenever the ego comes calling, if this one works for you, you can remind yourself. But I'm only upset because I'm seeing a meaningless world. Just having the awareness to do that. So he gives us a new lesson every day so that it's current, it's almost to mind, because in a few months' time, you might not remember this one. But it's in there. The idea is it kind of gets entrenched in your thought system and it's in there. It starts to become more the default way that you perceive in the world. Okay. So let's have a look at we have a look at today's text reading, which is perception versus knowledge. This one is called. So let's have a look at perception versus knowledge. I think it's about 7 paragraphs. So if you can read this in the nothing much to translate there. So we've been emphasizing perception, said very little about knowledge, so just reading the alternative.
We have been emphasizing perception and have said very little about knowledge as yet. This is because perception must be straightened out before you know anything.
And we're going to translate it into the first person.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. To know is to be certain.
Yeah.
What's happened? So we just went away for a while. Don't know why I did that. To know is to be certain. Number 3,
Oh, yeah, yep. To know is to be certain. Uncertainty means that I do not know. Knowledge is power because it is certain, and certainty is strength. Perception is temporary. As an attribute of the belief in space and time, it is subject either fear or love. Misperceptions produce fear, and true perceptions foster love. But neither brings certainty, because all perception varies. That is why it is not knowledge. True perception is the basis for knowledge, but knowing is the affirmation of truth and beyond all perceptions. So it's just saying very much on our perceptions, and we say very little about the actual knowledge. So we have uncertainty, then it means we don't know, whereas knowledge is power, and there's certainty and strength there, whereas perception is temporary.
But neither brings certainty because all perception varies. That is why it is not knowledge. So it's making a clear distinction between perception and knowledge for the first time. It's just another way of framing the split. You know, the world of perception is the world of illusion. It's changeable. There's no certainty. Knowledge is pure formless awareness of perfect love. So knowledge is true and not variable. We look at the sent into hell. It's the Holy Trinity idea. No, what's it doing? I don't know why it does that sometimes. Never mind. For some reason it's decided to go online to do that. So I'll just scroll down. There we go. So it's shown visually here. We've got the domain of knowledge, which is also God or Father, heaven, truth, oneness, being, pure formless awareness of perfect love, source, knowledge, revelation, spirit, nirvana. There's many names for it. In this section, he's calling it knowledge. So it is unchangeable, it's infinite, it's eternal, it's absolute, it doesn't change. As it's completely beyond perception. And then the world of perception is the world of time and space, and all the things that seem to go on here, people, things, places, events, circumstances, situations, and all experiences that seem to exist and happen. It's all perceptual, and none of it's certain. Perception is very uncertain, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what he's saying is, okay, you know, this is what you've done. You think you've done. You now got your mind caught up in this perceptual world, and you're believing that it's all real and true, and you're suffering as a result. Okay, well, that's where you are. So I'll meet you there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to correct those perceptions. Can't expect just to go into knowledge, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love straight away. We need to start where you are and start in the domain of perception and correct these perceptions. So this is where the Course comes in. Miracles are the corrections of perception that bring true perceptions or Christ's vision, that process is forgiveness or letting go or surrender or acceptance or salvation or one-ment or enlightenment. The miracle is also called Satori. It's a process of awakening, of rebirth, of healing, transformation. You know, these could add in that actually, because a bit more space. Transformation is another word. There's many names for this process of correcting perception. And in the process of correcting perception, you must transform your self-concept. Who are you? Well, you are what you perceive. You know, your perceptions are a reflection of your true self, or whatever self-concept you have. It could be a false self. So Yeshua knows that by correcting perception, you start to identify more and more with the true self, which is extended from pure formless awareness of perfect love. Your true self is one self and is connected to this oneness. If you really identify with yourself and everyone as the one self, then you must experience more and more of this oneness. And so the idea is in one line. You know, the true self is in alignment with the source of it, which is this pure formless awareness of perfect love at the very top level. And then that carries through into your perception, which is why yesterday we studied the Holy Trinity. He said the Holy Trinity is actually in one line. Its levels don't contradict because they're all in alignment. The source, the pure formless awareness of perfect love, extends through the self, this true self, which now has true perceptions. And this is the Son or the Christ. This is the Father, and this is the Holy Spirit. The ability to perceive correctly. And so then it all becomes quite understandable. Okay, I get it. It's really, we're just talking about aspects of the mind. They're not ultimately real. In truth, we're just pure formless awareness of perfect love. But while we seemingly, here in the separated state, we think that we separate. Then this is useful. It's a very useful model for us. And understanding that we must correct our perception is where we have to start. You can't just go into pure formless awareness of perfect love without correcting your perceptions first. So that's where he starts. That's what the course is directed to. 99% of it is about this process of shifting from the world of perception and time and space and thinking that's all real from your separated self perspective to having the true self perceive the world correctly for you. And this is the correction process, or the miracle is this corrective process. Yeah, does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So, actually very practical, because he's saying, well, there is this domain of knowledge, and bear that in mind. That's the reference point, but we're dealing with perception. As he's saying, true perception is the basis for knowledge, but knowing is the affirmation of truth and beyond all perceptions. The true perception stems from knowledge, because you know that there's only pure formless awareness of perfect love and only perfect oneness. You apply that perception, that idea in all of your perceptions. That's what it means. So it's the foundation of it. But in pure knowledge, in this pure awareness, there is no perception. All of this, the Christ, the Son, the true perceptions, transformation, healing, and all perception of anything outside of you in the physical universe of time and space has simply disappeared, and you become perfectly one again. So the Trinity collapses, the Holy Trinity collapses into perfect oneness and into knowledge ultimately. As he says later, to perceive the truth is not the same as to know the truth. To know the truth is to be rooted in this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love or revelation, and there's nothing else going on. There's no perception happening in knowledge. All right, so happy with number one.
Yeah.
All right, so number two, not much to translate, just God will become pure formless awareness of perfect love, and brother will become companion. And the miracle is the correction. So
All your difficulties stem from the fact that you do not recognize yourself, your companions, or pure formless awareness of perfect love.
just remember to translate into first
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Haven't had a chance to do that. Let's do it as we go.
Yeah. Perfect love. To recognize.
To recognize.
Yep. To recognize means to know again, implying that I knew before. You can perceive in many ways because perception involves interpretation, and this means that it is not whole or consistent. The correction, being a way of perceiving, is not knowledge. It is the right answer to a question, but you do not question when you know. Questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. The correction, which is the right answer, corrects them. Since perceptions change, their dependence. Oh no, I'm not doing it in the first person. So, since perceptions change, their dependence on time is obvious. How I perceive at any given time determines what I do, and actions must occur in time. Knowledge is timeless because certainty is not questionable. I know when I have stopped asking questions.
Just read it from the top again in the first persons. Check we got that all right.
All my difficulties stem from the fact that I do not recognize myself. My companions, or pure formless awareness of perfect love. To recognize means to know again, implying that I knew before. I can perceive in many ways because perception involves interpretation, and this means that it is not whole or consistent. Corrections, being a way of perceiving, is not knowledge. They are the right answer to a question, but I will not question when I know. Questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. Corrections, which are the right answer, corrects them. Since perceptions change, their dependence on time is obvious. How I perceive at any given time determines what I do, and actions must occur in time. Knowledge is timeless because certainty is not questionable. I know when I have stopped asking questions.
Okay.
It's just the difficulties are when we don't recognize our true self. And to recognize means to know again. So implying that we knew already. But we can perceive in many ways. But it still means that it's not whole or consistent. So the right answer to a question, but I will not question when I know. Yeah. Well, questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them. But we finally know when knowledge is there, when we stop asking questions.
Yeah. when we can merge into pure formless awareness of perfect love, and we can rest in this state. In this state, there are no questions. There's just awareness. It's perfect, pure awareness. And there's nothing to question because that state is perfectly known in your own experience. You only question when you are somewhat disconnected from this state. You're still believing in your false self and the world of perception. And then you question because you're not certain anymore of this knowledge, of this, that pure formless awareness of perfect love is all there is. You're still, vacillating between that and the ego's perceptions of the world, which are highly questionable. There's lots of uncertainty. So knowledge, and when you stop asking questions and you know the truth. Carl Jung was interviewed at the end of his life, and they said, "Do you believe in God?" He said, "No, I don't believe in God. I know God." You start knowing it experientially. Then there are no more questions, are there? Because you know it. Your mind isn't confused anymore because you had the actual experience. So one moment of a revelatory experience, when you open up into this domain, can bring you that knowledge, and then you're never going to go back fully into the same attachment to the perceptual world because you've experienced this domain. So you know experientially there's something else, and this is what the mystics do. They have an experience like this, and then they speak from that experience. They know now that there's something beyond time and space in the perceptual world because they've experienced it directly. So that's the difference between knowledge and perception. But he's saying to prepare yourself for this experience of knowledge, you must start correcting your perceptions. And that's something you can do. You can and you should do it all the time, because that prepares you for the coming of knowledge, which will come when you're ready. Can't force it, but it will come when your mind is prepared for it. You prepare your mind by correcting your perceptions and identifying more and more with your true self as you do that. Prepares the way for the coming of knowledge, which will come. God takes the final step. It'll come when you're ready. You can't force that, but you're much more likely for it to happen if you're practicing and you're doing the work to correct your perceptions than if you're not. As the Zen tradition that says enlightenment is an accident, but spiritual practices make you more accident prone. So the more you are correcting your perceptions and doing that work, the more likely you are to have this kind of experience just happen. You just don't know when it might come. Okay? Okay with number 2, Len?
Yeah.
All right, so number 3 then, the questioning mind.
The questioning mind perceives itself in time and therefore looks for future answers. The closed mind believes the future and the present will be the same. This establishes a seemingly stable state that is usually an attempt to counteract an underlying fear that the future will be worse than the present. This fear inhibits the tendency to question at all. So it's just saying that the questioning mind perceives itself in time and looks for future answers. But the closed mind believes the future and the present will be the same. So the fear inhibits the tendency to question at all, to see the unreality of
attempt
it.
to counteract an underlying fear that the future will be worse. So you notice that people are fearful, and often they close their mind and they try and create some kind of stability that way. They're not open to change. So, well, if I just keep things as they are, and everything will be in a stable state, and I'll manage my fear that way. So I'm not open to change. But as he says, this is just an attempt to counteract an underlying fear that the future will be worse than the present. And this fear inhibits the tendency to question at all. So closed mind doesn't want to question because questioning is the first step in undoing the ego. If you start questioning its thought system and seeing that it doesn't actually make sense and it's not true, then it's the thin edge of the wedge. It's going to crack the whole thought system open. So the ego doesn't want you to do that. So, but even the questioning mind, it's still not the truth. It's a start, but the questioning mind still perceives itself in time and therefore looks for future answers. So this is the spiritual seeker. We're seeking and seeking for the answers in time. One day I'll get the answer. One day I'll become enlightened. But actually, there's only now. The Course is saying it's right now. You're only awakened now. So keep working at it. But right now is all there is. And if you're open to that, then right now the insights and awakening experiences can and will happen. And the more you have those, the less you question, because experientially from beyond the level of that questioning intellectual mind to the state of knowing the truth experientially. And that's what happens when you go into a mystic kind of experience. You come to know this experientially. Okay, well, you stop questioning them because you've had the experience. Until then, we have a tendency to question, but the more you practice, the more you're overcoming that questioning. And the more you're starting to just accept, ultimately. This is about accepting the truth completely, overcoming all blocks to its awareness of love's presence, and just accepting it fully. That's what this journey is about. Okay, any thoughts on number 3?
No, that's good.
Okay, let's go to 4. True vision.
True vision is the natural perception of the remembrance of perfect love, but it is still a correction rather than a fact. The remembrance of perfect love is symbolic and therefore not a device for knowing. However, it is a means of right perception, which brings it into the proper domain of the correction. A vision of perfect love would be a correction rather than a revelation. The fact that perception is involved at all removes the experience from the realm of knowledge. That is why visions, however pure, do not last.
Yeah, so I've just translated spiritual sight. True vision, the natural perception of spiritual sight. Well, spiritual sight is the remembrance of perfect love. It's the natural perception of the remembrance of perfect love. So this spiritual sight is symbolic. And we'll just say spiritual perception. Spiritual perception is symbolic and therefore is not a device for knowing. So you can't you can't know the truth, but you can perceive correctly. Right perception brings it into the proper domain of corrections. This is a vision of God. It would be a miracle rather than a revelation. A vision of perfect love would be a correction rather than a revelation, because revelation is just an experience of pure formless awareness. So I'll give you a good example. So in this Vipassana meditation retreat, on the same day, it's the ninth day, final day of full meditation. In the morning session, you'd meditate until about 11, I think it was, and then a bell would go, and then they had lunch at, I think, half past 11 or something. So just before that bell went, I'd been sitting for like 2 hours in meditation almost, and suddenly this vision, vision of a hand just coming out of nowhere with this big kind of golden orb in it. Came out of nowhere and just put it in my heart chakra. I felt it and I went, whoa. I saw it, I felt it. I was like, wow, okay. And that whole experience lasted, I don't know, maybe a minute, something like that. And then the bell went almost immediately. And so that was the end of the meditation. So I was like, okay, that was, very interesting. It was quite very visual, quite profound. I did feel it. I saw it. What does it mean? So that could be called a vision of God, right? A hand coming out of nowhere and putting this bright white light orb thing in my heart center. And that was a vision. But then later that afternoon, a couple of hours later, I was lying on my bed and I went into this state of pure formless awareness, which was revelatory. That was a revelation, not a vision, because there was no visual imagery at all. It was just pure awareness and nothing. No imagery came in. So that's the difference between a vision and revelation. There's no perception at all. There's no imagery. None of that exists in knowledge. Which is why visions, however pure, do not last. Because they're still within the perceptual domain that is, of course, temporary. Everything in perception is temporary and doesn't last. It's impermanent. That's it. That's the difference between perception and knowledge. The primary difference is that perception is impermanent and knowledge is permanent. Okay, does that make sense? You okay with that, Elaine?
Oh, sorry, yes, I got distracted there. Yeah. Sorry, what was that you said?
Said you're okay with number 4? Difference
Yes.
between vision and revelation.
Yeah.
Vision still involves
You
perceptions,
said when you were in
sight,
the
imagery.
meditation. Yeah.
Yeah. So that those two experiences were demonstrative, indicative of the difference. The one was a vision of God, you could call it, and the other one was a revelation, which went beyond all vision and just was. There was no visual imagery. There's no sense perceptions at all in that state. It was just pure awareness without thought. No, no imagery. So that's the difference between visions and revelation. Okay, number 5. So the Bible tells me
Bible tells me to know myself or to be certain. Certainty always comes from pure formless awareness of perfect love. When I love anyone, I have perceived them as they are, and this makes it possible for me to know them. Until I first perceive them as they are, you cannot know them. While I ask questions about them, I am clearly implying that I do not know pure formless awareness of perfect love. Certainty does not require action. When I say I am acting on the basis of knowledge, I am really confusing knowledge with perception. Knowledge provides the strength for expansive thinking, but not for right doing. Perception, corrections, and doing are closely related. Knowledge is the result of revelation and induces only pure formless awareness of perfect love. Even in its most spiritual form, perception involves the body. Knowledge comes from the foundation of my mind, within, and it's timeless because it is certain. To perceive the truth is not the same as to know it, like Carl Jung said.
Yeah. I perceive the truth. What I'm perceiving, you can't really perceive the truth. That's the point. You can perceive truly from the perspective of truth. You can then bring that into the domain of perception, but you can't perceive the truth because the truth and perception are in different orders of reality. You can know the truth. So you know it in your own awareness, you know it experientially, but there's no perception. Just read it from the top again. Let's just check we've got all the translations okay.
The Bible tells me to know myself or to be certain. Certainty always comes from pure formless awareness of perfect love. When I love anyone, I have perceived them as they are, and this makes it possible for me to know them. Until I first perceive them as they are, I cannot know them. While I ask questions about them, I am clearly implying that I do not know pure formless awareness of perfect love. Certainty does not require action. When I say I'm acting on the basis of knowledge, I am really confusing knowledge with perception. Knowledge provides the strength for expansive thinking, but not for right doing. Perception, corrections, and doing are closely related. Knowledge is the result of revelation and induces our pure formless awareness of perfect love. Even in the most spiritual form, perception involves the body. Knowledge comes from the foundation of my mind within and is timeless because it is certain. To perceive the truth is not the same as to know it. So it's just all about this certainty. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, just highlighting the difference between perception and knowledge. So perception, corrections, and doing are closely related, right? So this is all within the domain of time and space, doing, actions, corrections. And this is where the teaching is pitched, saying, I know that this is, this is illusory, but this is where you're at. So the teaching needs to help you where you are, to overcome all of these misperceptions and correct your perceptions and identify more and more with your true self and find a sense of peace and love and joy and happiness. That's, what you need. And that in time will lead you to transcend all of this. You keep correcting your perceptions and you're identifying more and more with your true self, you will ultimately become one with your own true awareness again. You merge with that, and then knowledge, you have the knowledge of who you are, experiential knowledge, rather than ego's knowledge. So the ego will tell you that knowledge is learning more about the world and the body and behavior and whatever. But it's always, externally oriented. And the Course is saying, no, none of that's knowledge. That's just information that the ego's invented to convince you that its world is real. Knowledge is this deeper knowing of who you are. Know thyself, experiential, which is the ancient injunction on the temple of Apollo at Delphi. Know thyself. Come into the knowledge of who you are, and then perception and everything in time and space, corrections, the doing, all of that fades away in knowledge, which is only pure formless awareness of perfect love. Knowledge induces only thought. Well, I've translated that as knowledge induces only this awareness and nothing else, only pure formless awareness of perfect love. So a complete state of mind, there's nothing else. That's why it's absolute, it's complete, it's whole, and that's the final destination. But while we think we're still in time, we must correct our perceptions to get there. All right. You okay with that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he carries on the same theme. Right perception is necessary. I think read this. There's a bit of translation, so read this in the original and then the alternative.
Okay. Right perception is necessary before God can communicate directly to his altars, which he established in his sons. Right perception is necessary before pure formless awareness of perfect love can give its foundations a direct experience of itself, which is established in its extensions.
And that's what it means, that God can communicate directly to his altars. So for pure formless awareness of perfect love can give its foundations a direct experience of itself, which it established in its extensions.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just, its altars, its extensions, maybe. Let's say its extensions, a direct experience of itself. Which it established. His altars, which he established in his sons. Extensions and direct experience of itself. Which it established in its extension. So this knowledge of our source is in us. It's in all of the extensions of source or pure formless awareness of perfect love, because it cannot not be. It's always been there. It was established, which it's established in its extensions. Establishes in its extensions. How about which it guarantees? I think that's better. Which it guarantees is in its extensions. This knowledge. Okay. There it can communicate its certainty.
There it can communicate its certainty, and its knowledge will bring peace without question.
Okay, sorry, reading the original. God is not a stranger.
God is not a stranger to his sons, and his sons are not strangers to each other. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is not a stranger to its extensions, and its extensions are not strangers to each other.
Yeah.
Knowledge perceived both perception and time and will ultimately replace them. Knowledge preceded both perception and time and will ultimately replace them. That is the real meaning of Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, and before Abraham was I am. That is the real meaning of Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, and before Abraham was I am. Perception can and must be stabilized, but knowledge is stable. Perception can and must be stabilized, but knowledge is stable. Fear God and keep his commandments becomes know God and accept his certainty. Fear God and keep his commandments becomes pure, formless awareness of perfect love and accept its certainty.
No, no pure formless awareness of perfect love and accept its certainty. Okay, just read it from the top. The alternative.
Right perception is necessary before pure formless awareness of perfect love can give its extensions a direct experience of itself, which it guarantees in its extensions. There it can communicate its certainty, and its knowledge will bring peace without question. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is not a stranger to its extensions, and its extensions are not strangers to each other. Knowledge preceded both perception and time and will ultimately replace them. That is the real meaning of the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and before Abraham was I am. Perception can and must be stabilized, but knowledge is stable. Fear God and keep his commandments becomes known pure formless awareness of perfect love and accepted certainty. You need the right perception. Yeah, you need the right perception. It's necessary before this pure formless awareness of perfect love to experience knowledge and bring peace without question. Well, knowledge preceded both perception and time and ultimately replaced them. So this is the real meaning of Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Fear God and keep his commandments becomes known as pure formless awareness, perfect love, and accept its certainty.
So what he's giving us is a reinterpretation of a lot of these sayings. You know, fear God and keep his commandments. You know, classic kind of biblical statement becomes know pure formless awareness of perfect love and accept its certainty. Completely changes it, doesn't it? Fear God and keep his commandments. Wow. I mean, that's like, okay, I'm in fear of this you know, super God thing that's out its commandments, or else I'm going to be punished. It's very fearful. Not really a loving. It's not about any kind of loving awareness there. So that's the illusion of God, the fearful, wrathful, vengeful God. That's all about punishment and fear, and that's why most people reject religion. They do reject it. They go, no, that concept of God can't accept that. It just requires reinterpretation. No God, no pure formless awareness of perfect love in your own experience, and accept its certainty. Because when you have that certainty, you will think and speak and act according to that certainty. And then God, this pure formless awareness of perfect love, it will come through you. You will be inspired by it, and it will guide all of your thoughts and your words and your actions. And so God then is in you, and God is with you. And then all of these sayings, the Bible, God is with you and you surrender to God, it starts to make more sense when you perceive it this way. So it's just again talking about knowledge being before time. It's the real meaning of the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So, when the end and the beginning merge and they become one, then you're in knowledge. It's the beginning. We seemingly separated from it. We've gone on this whole mad journey into the illusion, but we'll come back to it. That's a guarantee. The end is guaranteed. Let's find this. So the beginning, of the illusion was the idea of separation we believed in, but there was always pure formless awareness of perfect love, so that pre-existed any beginning of the ego's world and this universe, and the end will be that the entire dream is let go of, and we return back to the state that we were in before the beginning. So it becomes the beginning and the end. It's the same. We haven't really gone anywhere. And before Abraham was, I am, is a statement of this I am presence. So before time, before Abraham and any of the events in time, I am says that I am that I am. This presence has always been existent. It's been there since the beginning of time, and before time was. Could say before Abraham was. So before time was, I am. So could rephrase that. Before time was, I am. Before time was is in time, and then I am transcends time and takes you into pure formless awareness of perfect love, the great I am presence, which is what it means when you identify with that. That's what it means to know thyself. Okay. Happy with number 6?
Yeah.
Great. Number 7. You attack error in another.
Alternative.
Until we get to 7. There's a couple of gods and children there, so.
Yeah, because I'll need to take a 2-minute break. I do need to, yeah.
And just take a 2-minute break. When? Now?
Well, I can do it after this. It's just I've got some pressing things. It's okay. Yeah. Right. If you would.
We're nearly done.
Oh, okay. Right. I will. Yeah. If you attack error in another, you will hurt yourself. You cannot know your companion when you attack him. Attack is always made upon a stranger. You are making him a stranger by perceiving him, and so you cannot know him. It is because you have made him a stranger that you are afraid of him. Perceive him correctly so that you can know him. There are no strangers in perfect love's extension. To extend as it extends, you can extend only what you know and therefore accept yours. Pure formless awareness of perfect love knows its extensions with perfect certainty. It extends them by knowing them. Pure formless awareness of perfect love recognizes them perfectly. When they do not recognize each other, they do not recognize it.
Okay, and then from the top.
If you attack error in another, you will hurt yourself. You cannot know
Sorry,
if I attack error in another, I will hurt myself. I cannot know my companions when I attack them. Attack is always made upon a stranger. I am making them strangers by perceiving them, and so I cannot know them. It is because I have made them a stranger that I am afraid of them. Perceive them correctly so that you know them. There are no strangers in perfect love's extension. To extend as it extends, I can extend only what I know and therefore accept is pure formless awareness of perfect love knows its extensions with perfect certainty. It extends them by knowing them. Pure formless awareness of perfect love recognizes them perfectly. When they do not recognize each other, they do not recognize it.
Okay, so thoughts on that?
Well, if we attack, if I attack an error in another, I'm hurting myself. So we don't know our companions when we attack them. Attack is made on a stranger, and it's always on a stranger. So we're misperceiving them if we see them as strangers. We've got to perceive them correctly, because there's no strangers in perfect love's extension. Yeah. Because it knows them, yeah. So it's pure formless awareness of perfect love recognizes them perfectly. So
yeah, so again, he brings in the element of other people. Always, the Course brings in that element. Says, how does this affect your perception of others? Well, that's a long summary. Did I write these? I'm like, where did these come from? I must have written them. It's a very long summary because the whole thing is. Anyway, just read it as the summary of it. Read the whole thing to summarize it. Yeah, we won't discuss each one. We'll just read it.
Just quickly, yeah. My perceptions must be corrected before I know anything. To know is to be certain. If I am uncertain, it means that I do not know. Knowledge is power because it is certain, and certainty is strength. When perception is temporary and is governed by either fear or love, my misperceptions produce fear, my true perceptions foster love. But neither will make me certain, because all perception varies. That is why it is not knowledge. True perception is the basis for my knowledge, which is the truth beyond all perceptions. All my difficulties stem from the fact I do not know myself. My companions are pure formless awareness of perfect love. I can perceive in many ways because perception involves interpretation, and this means that it is not whole or consistent. When I make a correction, it is a way of perceiving, and so is not knowledge. It is the right answer to a question, but I wouldn't question if I knew the answer. Questioning illusions is the first step in undoing them, and my corrections, which are the right answer, correct them. How I perceive determines what I do, and my actions must occur in time. But knowledge is timeless, because certainty is not questionable. I will know when I have stopped asking questions. My questioning mind perceives itself in time, and therefore I look in future answers. My separate or closed mind believes the future and the present will be the same, which establishes a seemingly stable state. That is my attempt to counteract the underlying fear that the future will be worse than the present. This fear inhibits my ability to question my current beliefs at all.
Yeah. Any reflections on any of that?
Well, it's just about being in our true self and seeing the future in the past. The future being the same as the present or worse. So about perception and knowledge. Knowledge is the power. It's certain, it's strong. But perception is temporary, and it's just fear or love. Very much talking about this.
Just highlighting the difference between the domain of knowledge and perception. Again, he's talked about this distinction before. It's the same distinction between love and fear, but talking about knowledge and perception. So, but we have another perspective on it. Perception is temporary, is illusory, is what's going on in time and space, but knowledge is certain and stable. It lies beyond all perception. And when we stop questioning, then we come to know. The enlightened, if beings are perfectly enlightened, they're not questioning anymore. They're out of the questioning mind, and they're in the answer. They live in the answer. I am is the answer. I live in that presence. So there's no more questioning then. There's just certainty, which then brings peace of mind. That brings security, stability, certainty. All of this comes from that stability of our thought system. Okay, I'll carry on. My true vision is my natural perception.
My true vision is my natural perception when I am guided by the remembrance of perfect love, but it is still a correction rather than a fact. This remembrance helps me reinterpret the symbols in my dream and is therefore not a device for knowing. However, it is a means of right perception, which brings it into the proper domain of correction. So a vision of perfect love would be a correction rather than a revelation, which reveals knowledge. That is why my visions, however pure, will not last.
Okay, the difference between vision and revelation. Vision is perceptual, revelation comes from knowledge or pure formless awareness, and so it's transcendent of all perception. Next one, the Bible tells me to know myself.
The Bible tells me to know myself and be certain. Certainty always comes from pure formless awareness of perfect love. When I love anyone, I have questioned them as they are, which makes it possible.
You said question. I perceive them as they are.
Which makes it possible. Which makes it possible for me to know them. While I ask questions about them, I am implying that I do not know pure formless awareness of perfect love. Certainty does not require action. When I say I'm acting on the basis of knowledge, I am really confusing knowledge with perception. Knowledge provides the strength for expansive thinking, but not for right doing. Perception, corrections, and doing are closely related, but my knowledge is the result of revelation and induces only pure formless awareness of perfect love. Even in its most spiritual form, my perceptions involve the body. To perceive the truth is not the same as to know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, highlighting a difference between perception and knowledge. It's beyond the body.
My right perception is necessary before I can experience pure formless awareness of perfect love directly. In this experience, I will have certainty and peace without question. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is not a stranger to me, and I am not a stranger to others. Knowledge preceded both perception and time and will ultimately replace them. I will stabilize my perception, but knowledge is already stable. So the statement, fear God and keep his commandments, can be translated as, I know pure formless awareness of perfect love and accepted certainty. If I attack error in another, I will hurt myself. I cannot know anyone when I attack them. I always attack a stranger. I make him a stranger by misperceiving him, and so I cannot know him. It is because I have made him a stranger that I am afraid of him. I must perceive everyone correctly so that I cannot know them. There are no strangers in perfect love's extension. To extend as it extends, I can extend only what I know and accept is mine. Pure formless awareness of perfect love knows me and everyone else with perfect certainty. It extends us by knowing us as we truly are. When I do not recognize others as what they truly are, I do not recognize pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Okay. So if you were going to summarize this in one sentence or two sentences.
Yeah, well, it's just talking about perception versus knowledge. Perception is just varying and there's uncertainty there, whereas knowledge, there's certainty. It's
variable.
God. Yeah, it's just perfect, pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Certain. Whereas knowledge is stable and therefore always certain. So then maybe we just say, by correcting my perceptions, I systematically correcting my perceptions, I awaken. I will awaken to the knowledge of who I really am. Which is pure wholeness, awareness of perfect love. And perceive everyone and everything in its yeah, that'll do, I think. You want to read that on the top?
Perception is variable and therefore uncertain, whereas knowledge is stable and therefore always certain. By systematically correcting my perceptions, I will awaken to the knowledge of who I really am, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love, and perceive everyone and everything in its knowledge.
In the from the perspective, from the perspective of its knowledge. Yeah, I think that's a key takeaway. Correcting our perception is what takes us back to knowledge, and the more we do that, the more we will be able to perceive correctly, and only have true perceptions rather than false ones. Okay, so yeah, any other thoughts or comments on this one, Elaine?
Very clear, yeah, very clear.
Good.
We just, yeah,
I'll,
yes,
I'll,
good.
I'll send it out to the group just after this, so you can read it. So tonight, do you want to join us for the matrix? I can do it from 6:30.
I'm going to see how I feel, because I'm still not well, so I'd rather just have, I just want to go with the flow. So I would prefer to leave it open, yeah. See how I feel.
Okay. Join
Yeah.
if you we're starting at 6:30.
Okay, that's great. Okay. See you later. Okay.
Okay. Hope to see you then.
Namaste. Bye.
Okay. Namaste. Bye. All right, so that's a wrap. Thank you to Elaine for joining. If you enjoyed the session, you'd like to get more of this, then do subscribe to the channel. Go live 6 days a week, so you'll be notified by YouTube when that happens. You can also join us for the next Art of Letting Go masterclass. Find out more about this course and program, how you can benefit from it. So if you would like to do that, go to theaolg.com. The link's below in the text box below this video on YouTube. And finally, yeah, I'll send out the daily quote and also the daily lesson from the workbook and a little mini meditation and other resources, links to past recordings of sessions and so on. So you can get all that free on Telegram. If you go and pop your details in at lifebuild.com, then I'll add you to the list, and you'll get sent material daily by Telegram, all completely free. So I hope to catch you on the inside one way or another. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and weekend ahead, and I hope to see you soon. Namaste, which means the the true self that knows who it is, has knowledge, acknowledges and honors that same true self and knowledge in you.